Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. This is me, Rima.
This is me, Sushant.
What's up? I'm Luke.
And guys, we just watched Zindagi na Milegi Dobara.
You only live once.
You only live once. With that, let's get into it. It of course stars Hrithik Roshan, Farhan, Akhtar, and Abhay, Deol, and of course the gorgeous, beautiful, talented Katrina, Kaif, and Kalki Caitlin, also in an important role.
Are you sure?
Natasha, please jaldi हाँ या ना कह दो. My knees.
हाँ.
Wow.
किसी को कहो कि तुम्हें उसके बारे में कुछ पता है. And before you know it, सारे secrets बाहर निकल आए.
He's gonna get that trick back on him.
तुझे उस यूक्रेनियन के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता था?
No, उसने बताया.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, he's thinking. What's he gonna do?
Man, those light green eyes. He doesn't look Indian from any angle. But anyway.
No.
सिर्फ 3 हफ्तों के लिए जा रहा हूँ, Natasha.
That's a long time.
Yeah, right. Like.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're busy, then you're like, you know.
Yeah, but.
Oh, they're right in the same room.
क्या करूँगी?
Dos croquetas
Right.
y 3 tortillas.
He's nailing that like Indian that lives abroad voice and vibe
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like it's so good.
इस ट्रिप पे आने के लिए. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
What's that response?
Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, there's some beef, huh? You can tell there's something going on.
Yeah, we don't know what
इतना
happened.
simple भी नहीं है.
Oh, talk about a workaholic.
Moshi moshi Yamamoto-san. O genki desu ka? Genki desu.
Mercy.
Japanese में hello.
How's he even gonna get connection? Like you can see how close
तुम लोग
friends they
यूना की
are.
तरफ point करके जोर से चीखना, okay?
Somebody please, कोई इसका phone बाहर फेंक दो यार.
Graduation is done, right? Yeah, so वो क्या कर रहा है यार?
Oh.
Are you mad? Grow up. मेरा phone बाहर फेंकना is not funny. मेरी girlfriend के साथ involve होना was not funny.
Oh.
Okay, here we go.
There we go. Wow, the view, huh? God. This movie was like a tourism vlog along with like being a...
I don't understand तूने कैसे सोच लिया कि I'll do this? What's wrong with you?
Wow. Wow.
Bathroom to the left.
I would totally do this. It looks awesome.
This looks fun.
This is also gorgeously shot. My gosh.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah, there's 5 people on that boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that other dude.
Unimportant.
अगर नाकाटूनी कॉर्पोरेशन का चेयरमैन मुझसे मिलना चाहता है, then what do? I have to go.
That's the Die Hard Corporation.
अगर उसे presentation अच्छा लग गया तो
They're in Nakatomi Tower. That's where it happened.
मेरा कितना फायदा होगा? Can't you see that?
Don't go! It has a attack.
अगले महीने भी तो जा सकते.
Let's go.
कभी ना squash कर यार.
लगी क्या? Shit man. Oh. I'll see you.
That's it? No.
No, she has to.
Their paths have to traverse, connect.
They're gonna end up in Morocco somehow with her.
Yeah, maybe.
That might be like a climax.
Wait, is she? Is that it? I thought she was. What?
She just wanted that kiss.
That's
I know.
it.
A kiss to remember.
Do you have her like contact information?
Oh, he's soaring high right now.
I love how in this film, I don't know if this, like, you guys can tell later in the review, if it accurately depicts male bonding, but I like how the men just take things for granted, where he's like, I'm happy, and just let it be, and then you see the expression on the person's face. I like that. I like those.
वापस आते वक्त चले जाएंगे.
I can attest. Yes.
Yeah.
I for sure.
Is it a double? It looks like
I feel like
almost them.
Farhan Akhtar seems
Yeah, like-
to have done it for real. That's my hunch.
And
That's
I just
him.
either
Right,
see
but maybe
that-
the other ones aren't.
The
We're
other
not
two, I
seeing the
know.
other two.
It's like the part in The Hangover where they also like get arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, जब उसे मालूम था कि हम
That's a tense meeting, huh?
I know.
तुम्हारे हाथ बिल्कुल
There's a lot,
मेरे
you
जैसे
know,
हैं।
to say.
आप इतने बरसों से जानते थे कि मैं हूं कि आपने कभी मुझसे मिलना नहीं चाहा। मैंने सोचा यही बेहतर है।
Well, he's being honest.
तुमने ही कहा था ना।
What happened to the very first scene of the movie?
Yeah. What?
I'm so confused.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, I'm so happy. Kabir just proposed to Natasha.
What?
Oh my god! Now you have to call me mama. Get some champagne.
चल कबीर
The others were
We're
like,
not actually doing it.
एक्सपीरियंस होना चाहिए।
ये हमारी जिंदगी का आखिरी
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
चलो पूछो।
let's get into the spoilers. I think we'll just go with what we loved and what we didn't like. Like, that's just how we're going to keep it generally. So this conversation is going to flow, guys. We don't know where it's headed. Sushant, your thoughts?
You know, we gushed about the movie.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
talked about one specific moment that threw us off. So I think let's open with one of the rare, confusing, negative moments of the movie, just to get it out the way so we can have fun.
Yeah.
There's an incredibly beautifully shot skydiving sequence. It's great.
They're yelling, having a great time.
They're yelling, having a great time.
Flying through the air.
Farhan Akhtar's overcome his fears.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, it was
I
a
was
fun
like,
little
that's not
thing.
the scene. Yeah.
I know, because and just to point out, like just before skydiving, there's this like little heartbeat sound as we focus on him. Before they go in the water, there's a heartbeat sound before Hrithik, and then finally before the bulls, there's a heartbeat sound before all three of them. So it's just kind of tying that in, which is nice, you know.
Yeah.
Feels
Yeah.
okay, nice and simple.
Skydiving is very important for the whole movie.
Yes,
That is
yes.
true.
It fades out from the skydiving scene, and then we go to a dance number for
Yeah.
Senorita, which
night,
it's a great
very
song. It's at
beautiful.
night. They're having fun, but I remember, and I'm like, I know I love this song. I know I enjoyed watching it, but I remember, at least I'll speak for myself, I think all three of us felt this way.
Yeah, I think
I
so,
didn't
yeah.
know what was happening. Yeah, and by that I mean I'm like, what is happening next?
Right.
It felt like an ending almost, the way the skydiving scene ended, and I'm like,
Right.
this random music bit is happening.
They're
What
all
is the
dancing with
story?
this really pretty woman, but like, what is it in service to? Where are we going
That's
from
true.
here?
Yes, because the other musical numbers, like at the Tomato Festival, for example, there's the love dynamic. We're seeing things happening. It's built up to, and it has a payoff. Like this just happened. It felt like they needed a transition, so they're like, let's just put this in here, and it felt very strange because it's a great song, but it just felt very odd. And for 10 minutes, I was kind of like, what is happening?
And it would even have made sense had they like talked about like, you know, like, hey, one of them is like, you know, this girl is really pretty and like, okay, let's go dance with her. And it's like, no, let's not. Like something where, because the entire film is about each of the friends daring the other to kind of face their fears and maybe humiliate themselves. So I was like, could you have not given a little bit of context? Like, why are they dancing? And full on dancing with choreography at this point. Like the wedding sequence at the end, guys, when you see and they're all choreographic, that was super cute. But that song in the middle was just like, let's get back to the trip. Like, you know, forward fast.
Yeah, what is happening?
Yes.
But yeah, Luke, your thoughts, what maybe you loved, what you didn't like, I mean, anything at all.
I mean, yeah, as I was saying earlier, I love the progression of the stockbroker, and then also like how at first him and the guy with the daddy issues like had a lot of tension, you know. And they were friends, and then at the end, you know, he calls his girl in, he's like, that's my best friend, you know. And I thought that was like a really touching moment. And they also kind of reverse roles where at first, you know, couldn't like take anything serious, always was joking about something, even after being called out on like stealing his best friend's girl. And then it got switched, and he was, in a very serious situation, and then his friend did the, breaking the tension with the joke. So I just thought that was a really pretty moment.
I also
and
like
I
that.
feel like.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it. Go for it. You got it.
Okay,
You got it.
Yeah, I was gonna just say out of what Luke was saying, like there was this one line. I mean, one thing that kind of what you said reminded me of is that they often in the script like play with lines where one character says it and then another character repeats it, and it just kind of comes full circle in some sort of interesting revelation of truth kind of way. So
right, that happened multiple times in multiple different situations. Yeah.
So for instance, like, Hrithik said something about like dating, and then like, Katrina kind of repeated that when they were kind of getting to know each other. I forget the exact line, but
it was about like why they broke up, and it's like I wanted something out of life, they wanted something else.
Yeah, and she wanted something else.
Yeah.
So she kind of repeats that, and it becomes like a little inside joke. And then you have, but in a more serious light, or in a much more deeper light, you had Hrithik at first expecting an apology from Farhan because of stealing his girlfriend. Right? Yeah, it's like, only apologize when it's from the heart. And then you had that full circle when Farhan meets his father, played by the incredible Nasiruddin Shah, and he's like, apologize to me when you really mean it. So it kind of
and then he sees that, and then he goes back to his friend and he's like,
and
hey,
apologizes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Wow. It's and what I like too is like none of those, like the first time the line is delivered, it's never like overstated. It's never like, oh, we're gonna stop and pause so you register this
line. It's important.
I know.
It's just like it's just delivered like naturally and well enough, and it's interestingly written enough that it sticks in your memory anyway. And I think that's just a testament to like there's all these moments too when like Farhan Akhtar is like essentially in voiceover, like, narrating very poetic things, essentially, alluding to the poetry that he's writing, that he's going to show his friends now that they survive the bull thing. So it's nice to kind of, bridge the gaps between scenes, place us emotionally where we are, but at the same time, like, give us more insight into this character who like is a secret writer, and I think it really intelligently used that as well, for sure.
I was gonna say with one of the other things, like, I mean, completely agree with you on that, is the writing, of course. Hats off to Zoya Akhtar, Rima Kagdi, and the dialogues by Farhan Akhtar himself. So and we know the poetry comes from his father Javed Akhtar. But one of the things I found also kind of interesting is that, what was I going to say? Now I'm forgetting what I was going to say. I was going to say something important. I forget. Luke or Sushant, go ahead. I'm going to think about what I was saying. It just came and it like went away from my mind. But
I think there was a moment Luke kind of talked about earlier when the stockbroker and the jokey friend kind of like fight for the first time. To me, that was a moment where like the movie kind of, it almost like leveled up a little bit, because up until then it's like, oh, these characters are a bit like archetypes and stuff like that. He throws the phone out and you're like, that's a bit wacky and extreme. That's nuts. Yeah. But then they fight, and then the moment the real thing gets revealed of, oh, we have this baggage, and that was the first time where I'm like,
sensed some sort of baggage, like some sort of tension, but we weren't sure.
Right, but that was the first time where like the obviously hateable stockbroker kind of becomes a human being, and you like sort of like him, and you kind of don't like the other two as much, and then you're like, oh, now I'm like dealing with these very gray people that are great but flawed, and it's like, oh, for me that was a moment of realizing like we're going to step into very interestingly written characters that have a lot of complex things to deal with, and that was definitely for me the moment where that struck.
And I think that going off of that, like, I think it's sort of like there's parts of me when I'm watching it, and because again, guys, I was watching it for the first time in its entirety. And I mean, same as Luke, I think probably with no context, I had a little more context. But one of the things that sort of at times when I was watching it, I was like, this seems rather trivial. This issue seems larger. Like when I thought of Farhan Akhtar's discovery of his father, the painter, I was like, that could have been something that could be like, if I were as a writer, guys, coming from my writing thing, like I would make that the main focus. And then I would think like something like, I was telling you guys in the beginning, the Hrithik Roshan's angle of being a stockbroker who doesn't appreciate love, only focuses on money, and then has a change of heart. It's almost like that sort of Grinch Christmas carol-y, like, see life, see for what, what I mean? So it felt a little cliched. And some things felt like, maybe even, the angle with Abhay Deol and his wedding and kind of wedding jitters and realizing it's not the right person. I felt the gravitas of it was less initially compared to something like Farhan's quest for his dad. But I realize now that in some ways, the way they interwove the story with these characters, kind of giving equal importance to all these little plots and subplots, it makes sense because that's how life is, right? Like, I mean, in life, somebody losing a job versus someone losing like a friend or someone maybe discovering a new meaning to life, all of those things can be equally important from their subjective perspective. So who are we to judge what is, what I mean, like what should be given more attention?
Absolutely.
But they played it off beautifully. Like, I was amazed at the tapestry of characters that would come in and out and weave in and out, and at the same time doing these dares. So I mean, I have to commend the writing.
It's really beautiful how they all went on their journeys of self-discovery, and they had a time to like contemplate and think on their own, but they were all still together, and they had the support of their friends to back them up whenever they needed it. But they were still like, the movie used like the road trip as a time to like process, emotions and things like that and contemplate. I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah, and it didn't ever feel like there was a moment, maybe until the end, or like sometimes with Hrithik Roshan's character, but for the most part, like you expect like the boys' trip to start as like, oh, boys' trip, woo, and then something goes wrong, and then they're like, oh, but we fixed it, boys' trip, woo. This trip starts kind of awkwardly. We're not even sure if like the third guy's coming. We're trying to get a sense of who's who.
Try not to yell at each other.
They're fighting immediately. It's when one of them's doing well, the other one's really sad. Then they're kind of fighting over the same girl.
He's got to work half the time.
There's so much happening that like is very interesting. I think like immediately a complicated dynamic, and I feel like it's kind of effective that like until the end we don't have all three of them like at a high, because it's sort of like we're almost craving that too, where like, oh, Hrithik Roshan's falling in love in this amazing, beautiful experience. The other two were kind of like meandering at the time. And then you're like, oh, we kind of see them all peak at the end. And it's really, all of their journeys climax in a great way at the climax of the movie. It's, I mean, sounds obvious, but it's done really well. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting, I think, from what I found interesting is that, like, in the end, of course, everything comes together. Like, I don't know why, like, every time I'm talking today, like, I keep losing my points, even though I'm trying to bring it in. But I was going to say, what was I? Oh, what I think, I feel like maybe a criticism, but it's not really a criticism, it's more an appreciation of the film, is that we get so invested in the characters a lot of times. Like, there was that scene where Hrithik was in the boat and he just had that life-changing experience, sort of diving underwater and seeing the marine life. And he comes up and he's overwhelmed with emotion and he almost has a spiritual experience and he starts tearing up. And there is a part of me, initially, I was like, what's the backstory here? What was the phobia? What caused this? And I wanted there to be more or learn more. But, and there were many such moments where I was like, what is the relationship dynamic between the two? Or what was the relationship that Farhan had shared with his father, the adopted father, I guess, who passed, versus, that led him to this quest. So there are always these things where you're like, could I have learned more? Could I have gauged more? But then a part of me kind of feels like, if you think of this as a vlog, or like somebody just having a travel journey and like three familiar friends kind of going through it, you don't always get the context. Like, if you're seeing someone just have a moment, you're not always going to see a backstory. You're going to just see them as they process something coming from wherever they are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. So that, I think,
just
was a
realizing
deliberate
you
decision.
saying that too made me also realize they each had like their fear and then they conquered something.
Yeah.
So he was afraid of the water, and then he met this girl, and they had this like romantic relationship. If I remember right, he went skydiving, and then after that, they got arrested and went to jail.
Right,
and then he
right.
called his dad.
Right, he called his dad, and then for the rounding of the bulls, he said like, okay, I am going to call off the wedding. And then
Right.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's kind of, well, I mean, it hits the beats of what you'd expect from a good story, but it's done well. And I think, to Rima's point, you reminded me too of what you said. there's a couple of things I want to bring up. The first thing is like with the water sequence, for example.
Right.
I think a lot of those sequences are filmed very beautifully. There's, you know, you're
Right.
underwater. It's like gorgeous. It's stunning to look at. I think there's moments where like initially I was caught off guard when he kind of went up and started crying. Like I understood why, because it was a fear, but like I was kind of lost about like, oh, because he and Katrina care for kind of like swimming around each other, and there's like a romance there, and then
And
we're
he's
looking at
immediately crying.
and then we're looking at beautiful fish, and then we're looking at the romance, and then we look at beautiful fish, and then he starts. So that there are moments where I'm like, I feel like I have to piece it together myself, like.
Yeah.
So by the time we get to the skydiving sequence, I understand, okay, this is more of a let me just experience what they're experiencing and then kind of like, but yeah, I wish in moments like that, it was a little more focused on like what he was seeing, you know, and what he was feeling in that moment. So I think there were a few where after a point, I kind of personally let that go. And, you know, like you said, the vlog feeling and in a positive sense, it was like, there's a scene where Hrithik Roshan is talking to someone from Japan, if I'm not mistaken, on a computer out in like the wilderness. And then the other two guys are just like shit talking about like some old teacher they had, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And you almost don't like know
like
necessarily what they're saying immediately, but like you get the idea. It sells the long standing camaraderie very well and the vibe of their dynamic very well though. So,
multiple times, right? Like, because they're like the jokes that they play. It's like, dude, we're not in college or anymore. Like, you know, you can't just scare a guy in the bathroom. Or that thing where like, oh, this teacher with the accent, or remember this old show that. So it kind of feels like, yeah, if you did meet up with your friends, you'd have all these inside jokes that others would be like, what are they laughing at hysterically? But you know the joke, and so you get the
exactly.
implications.
And I have to say,
so well,
yeah, Hrithik Roshan specifically, like obviously all the performances are amazing. For me, he was personally the standout. And it's like now thinking about it as an actor too, being like, obviously they filmed this out of order. There's so many things that are done so subtly that like I noticed the first time, like after they scare the first person in the bathroom. That's like the first mischievous living it up thing Hrithik Roshan does. You can see in the car, like he's driving, he has like the tiniest smile emerging. It's super subtle. It's very simple, but you're starting to see like, he's kind of breaking into the vibe. And then like over time that gets bigger. He gets louder, more alive. It's such a well like paced and thought out performance through the film. Like, and everyone did that. I think that was just a specific moment that I noticed though, but everyone was so like on point with their stuff.
Yeah, and then I think the one, I guess for me, the final thing I'm going to say, because, you know, I'm sure if you guys have others, feel free to add in, but like the one thing I feel with this movie, this is probably one of the first films where psychologically, like there was a lot of psychology, philosophy, thinking, reflection, self-reflection on your life. And there were so many little games that they played that I would take away with me, right? Like the one where you always have like, I thought that was a master stroke of being like, I heard about this, you know, and then with a straight face, and the people
I know there's something wrong. Yeah.
Like I was like, I want to try this, and then I wanted to try the one. I mean, we've probably seen this before, like word association. You know, sky, blue, this. Like you wanna, like there were many of these things where you're like, yeah, let's try this. Like it makes you want to reflect on your life. Like what is it that you love? Are you pursuing that? Live every moment. Like just gems that you take away. So I mean, there's very few films I think that you not just enjoy, not just entertain you, but then you can kind of carry with you, maybe not just book travel, you know, like travel destination tickets right away, but also take away with you being like, yeah, am I on the right path? Am I living my best life? You know,
right?
That to me, I was not expecting a Bollywood film to make me think and reflect, and I was like, ooh, cliched at times, but still
good movie,
powerful. Yeah. Any
definitely.
last thoughts, guys, on our spoilers? This is our spoiler version, guys, and we're still raving about the film. This is a sign of a good movie. We're still talking about it.
Yeah, I'm still going to be thinking about this movie tomorrow. I'm sure.
I think so. And why you're not in
Spain.
So
the only thing I have to say is like, if you I need to go to Spain. But you know, for all you viewers out there, if you haven't seen it and you're just watching the spoilers for some reason, you got to see it.
I know,
definitely.
Yeah, I would just say a really fun time. I think the kind of movie I could put on in any mood and enjoy. Yeah. For sure.
Absolutely. I'm already thinking of friends I want to show this movie to. So.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would recommend, guys, like, so for a lot of these slightly older films, I mean, this is 2011, so significantly older, we will try to do a reaction. So you could watch it with us on Patreon, come back and watch our reviews, or watch it on your own on Netflix, because it's more fun that way. Like, we want discussion, we want your critique, we want what you thought of it. Like, let us know in the comments, and, Luke, Sushant, and I, we will check it out. We will read it and maybe talk about it if something stands out, or pin it. So do consider doing that. What a lovely film. What a great time. Thank you guys for joining me. It was a long marathon, but we had a wonderful journey, right?
Yes.
So thanks, guys. Follow Sushant, Luke, myself, social media links down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We will see you in another road trip. Tell us if you want us to watch the final road trip film, Dil Chahta Hai. Does your Dil Chahta that we watch it? Let us know. We'll see you next time. I have to do that. I'm sorry.
Bye everyone.